Yeah, I wasn't talking.
All right, guys, welcome to Simon Says Sports. I'm going ahead and changing it up because we no longer have football, which is what was the driving force of our betting podcast.
As it is the driving force of America.
As soccer gets more popular. Anyways.
In your fucking dreams, liberal.
We're going to be really interested in those first 5-inning bets in baseball come July.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and talk baseball eventually.
That's when we got to switch to fights.
Oh, right.
First periods, what do you mean? There's all bets that go
So anyways, guys, I will say one thing. Congratulations on all picking the Chiefs.
And I picked the under.
Begrudgingly picking the Chiefs, by the way. You did pick the under.
That's because
they begrudgingly won.
Your emphatic 21-point blowout kind of scared us.
Yeah, John said 3 touchdowns. I was like, nah, bro.
And then all 4 of us said the same thing.
What?
It was 11. Yeah, it was 11.
Yeah, but it was much closer than it implied. Like the score implied.
Oh, absolutely. But at the same time, you know what? It just never felt like even when the 49ers were up, it just never felt like they were up.
No, well, because nobody's been up on the Chiefs. They came back every single game.
And Jimmy G's trash. So, I mean, we're just going to...
He outplayed Patrick Mahomes for 3 quarters.
Yeah, well, you know what? The 3 quarters they outplayed him, it didn't matter.
Look, if that ball doesn't get knocked down on 2nd and 5, that changes the entire rest of the game.
If he hits that bomb, it's an entire another conversation.
If he hits Sanders in stride, he probably has a...
Sherman doesn't get burned. Everyone's all Shanahan lost the game. No, Richard Sherman lost the game.
Whoa.
Sherman lost the game.
Stop. I will not stand for this Sherman trash talk.
No.
Million salary. They let him off the hook.
No.
Sherman's contract is all incentive based, which means every dollar he got, he earned, which means he played well.
No, don't even start on this because Sherman saved a touchdown. Shut the fuck up. No, he didn't. I'll get to this point on this in a second. But you're a jackass who just looks at numbers on bets and doesn't know any shit about sports. I will get to that first. First, though, you can't even compare him and Deion Sanders because Sherman fucking tackles people. He saved a touchdown in the first quarter when the guy got past everybody and he head up and squashed him right when he would have broke it up to gone the whole way, and that would have put the Chiefs up 14-0 at the time. In the fourth quarter, when Sammy Watkins does the double move, that was the move and the coverage that they saw Devontae Adams, is that his name? Because I forget my Devontae's. Parker with Green Bay.
When Parker, no, that's Adams. That's Adams.
When Adams did the same move and beat him in the fourth quarter when they're up by 30, it doesn't matter. But when they saw that coverage because they were playing a different type of defense than they did before, the inside-out release is the thing that he got beat on. So that wasn't he just got burnt. That was a coverage situation where he's setting up to push them in, and then they saw that the play, if they break it back out, there's no safety help. They didn't pick on him. They schemed the play to go after that. They didn't go after him. That was the play in the coverage, and it happened to be on his side.
You make it sound like Watkins had like this monster game.
He had one catch.
I'm talking about 2 series. The all-stars of the teams did not do what they were supposed to do.
Mahomes didn't do what he was supposed to do. Mahomes didn't do what he was supposed to do for 3 quarters. For 3 quarters. No, he did it. The only reason,
John, this is why you wait for this podcast.
No. The only reason he could do it, you can't say they lost because they picked on a corner. They lost because they scored 20 fucking points in the Super Bowl.
21 points in the fourth quarter.
They only scored 20 points.
Yeah, the 49ers only scored 20 points. No, it didn't.
No, it didn't.
Coach.
San Francisco's offense let down the team.
And the coach on the play calling because they get 2nd and 5. And, actually, no, I think I texted the thing in this. Help me with the thing. So Belichick spends about 2 minutes and 20 seconds against the Jets for funsies in Monday Night Football. Vrabel sees this when they have the 1-point lead against New England in New England, runs a minute 40 off of the time, shrinking the amount of time that the Patriots have, and then basically giving them their last possession 1 second, which became the interception return for a touchdown, giving them the 8-point lead.
Everyone's favorite play of the year.
Which because of the amount of money with it. When the 49ers were punting with about 6.5 minutes to go, or about 7:20, they could have ran another minute 40 off if they did the exact same thing. But it shows that Shanahan is too tunnel vision on his idea of how he should play call and what he should do, and didn't learn from his last Super Bowl experience. experience, or even see what other teams were doing. Because at 6:40, if he runs that down to 5 minutes, then the clock changes, and then the Chiefs' play calling becomes different as well. Because when they got the ball back with 6 minutes and they drove down, they were still running their same type of offense. They weren't going straight pass. Because when you go straight pass, Bosa, who had 11 pressures, double-digit pressures.
If they'd have won, Bosa might have won MVP.
He could have.
If that fumble would have bounced the right way,
He could have. He could have won that. Double-digit pressures.
He was there. I mean, you see, even if he didn't get to him, he was rushing him.
It changes all of the play calling from that point forward, but they didn't. And if they should have ran the clock down, they should have, because the clock's on a delay of game whether the penalty's taken or more outside of 5 minutes, if the play clock is running, then it starts back, or the game clock is running, the game clock starts running again. And they did the false start, they could have ticked off another minute 20, and then all of a sudden it changes the entire. Now Andy Reid, who finishes the game with a timeout, who knows what happens in the time situation at that point going forward.
All I can say about that game was, A, it was a very good game.
It was a very good fourth quarter.
And I think Damian Williams should have got MVP.
I agree. B,
it's always quarterbacks.
Pat Mahomes had arguably his worst game ever for that first 3 quarters.
He did. No, this is the weird thing.
Yeah,
he officially had his worst game ever, including the entirety of the game, because it was 286 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And it was really his worst game.
And it could have been a fumble lost.
Yes.
He was not making throws. I've never seen him skip balls. His rhythm was off. His
Kelsey only had
off.
47 yards. Like, it was bad.
Oh, yeah, I know. So, I mean, at the end of the day, though, I mean, who knows? Maybe it was just adrenaline.
Well, one of those interceptions was Tyreek Hill. Hill maybe not who should have caught it, but at least if he knocked it down, he wouldn't have popped it up for that second interception.
True, but I mean, it was a good game.
It's tough for star receivers. They're trying to make the catch.
Yeah, they are, and they should try to make the play. I mean, it wasn't a great throw, but I mean, if that's missed down to the ground rather than missed up in the air, then it's not an interception.
We're not going to do a full recap of the game, but I will say, post game, who do you think?
Well, the prop bets, Demi Lovato was under.
She was under.
Zion smashed.
She was way under.
Yeah, she was a minute 50.
Yeah.
And for 204, 205 or something like that.
Zion was 32 total between points, rebounds, and assists, and the Niners scored 20 points.
And
he smashed it.
Yeah, and Demi Lovato stretched it out.
That was my lock bet.
Yes, and we even thought Zion would do more.
Yeah.
But even then, 30 points was probably a safe one on that. Lovato was at like 130 when she got to the last 2 lines, and she stretched those out for 20 seconds, and still it was like well under. There were several other bets, because I was looking at some of the others. They were doing some of the like assists by teams plus 1.5, or I can't remember, something like Giannis. They did one of him for like rebounds or something, and several other things.
Tornado warning.
I don't believe that they mentioned the 28-3 during the game broadcast. That was the other thing, and that they
bad announcing.
Yeah, and they mentioned, especially at the end of the game, they was like after the game. Then they had the first female coach to be in the Super Bowl. There was a commercial that was aired. I don't think it was addressed during the game. So I wonder how that works on the bets, because it was between kickoff and final whistle, but it wasn't on the broadcast. So I wonder how that goes on that.
They broadcast the commercial? I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. It's like when you say during the game, then that's literally between the kickoff and that. It doesn't. There's no like. It has to be during the game broadcast.
Yeah, I would assume that wouldn't count. If they can find a way not to grade a win, I mean, they're going to find a way.
I agree, but it's like, unless it specifically says that it has to be during the game broadcast. Like if they said it has to be while the game's on. Well, while the game's on is between kickoff and final whistle. So I'm sure that'll become a weird.
What does she coach?
She's an offensive assistant. So it's probably it's statistics, analytics, and some things related to that. I mean, the commercial shows her being more of like a positions coach, but she isn't a positions coach. It's an offensive assistant. So it's probably going to help here and there, probably with I don't know. I don't even want to hazard to guess, because it's not a specific title.
So going into the next season, who do you think is the favorite?
Well, the Chiefs
it's already Kansas City plus 600.
Yeah, 6-1, and then 7-1 are
the Niners are third.
Yes, well they're tied. I think both they and the next team are 7-1.
What, Ravens?
Yes,
Ravens.
Yes, Ravens and the 49ers are next.
It's an interesting team next year. How do you go from the top of the mountain and then just get knocked out in the first round of playoffs, second round, first game in playoffs like that? That's an interesting team.
Ask Eli Manning. He does that a lot.
He's got 2 rings though. So
well, I mean, that's he did.
He comes from that wild card spot.
He does that.
Well,
maybe they need to be that. Maybe they went in there too fat and happy. Oh, they're the best team ever, best offense ever. Best
Big trust, woo woo.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's a consistent. It's like, how did you beat these great teams? It's the way you get to the quarterback. It's like, how does this team in the best regular season lose their first game? Because they don't play anybody week 17 and they haven't played for 3 weeks.
Look at the. I think the break they took and then also the bye hurt them. And at the end of the day, I mean, you look at the Chiefs last year against the Pats. The Chiefs should have won that game, but
no, that they would have won that game. It went into overtime and they never got the ball.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like they played badly.
No,
it's an entirely different comparison.
Well, no,
it's poor.
I think
and it was in the AFC Championship game, which means they won a game.
I think the Ravens. They lost the turnover battle. That's about it. They lost turnovers. And
but that is Vrabel's defensive scheme when you're playing against Lamar Jackson. No, listen, your defensive scheme, and it's happened. The Chargers did it last year, and the Titans did it this year. Your scheme against Lamar: surrender the pocket, let him have the pocket, let him throw the ball. He's going to get yards, but he's going to give you the ball. So the yards are not a direct indicator of how he's playing.
I'm just saying I don't think that's gonna be a problem next year.
If you look back when the Bills played the Ravens, I watched the entire game, and at the end of the game, Baltimore. Everyone forgets this. The Bills were down 1 touchdown scoring. Josh Allen was in Baltimore territory, and that whole game, Baltimore contained Lamar. They kept him in front of them. They kept
Buffalo contained Lamar.
Yeah, Buffalo contained him. 5 to 10 yard gains they gave up to not get the 15 to 20 yard gashes, and I mean that's exactly.
But that was a different version. I mean they're much better at the run defense and the things like that. But it is what the Chargers did. It's
you want to make him complete like 8 throws a drive if he's going to score.
Again, no matter who
he's going to give you one.
Yeah, no matter who the quarterback is. Once you get above 13 plays on a drive. It becomes diminishing returns. The more plays in a drive over 13, the more likely you'll end with no points, let alone no touchdowns. And also, no matter who you are, if you throw the ball 40, 50 times, you're going to have interceptions. I mean, was it Mahomes was 46 attempts and he had 2 interceptions of that, and possibly the best quarterback that we're going to see in our lifetimes. Definitely the best quarterback playing right now. And so if you have a questioning on the high level ability, yes, Lamar Jackson threw for 36 touchdowns, but when you have the running game that you do for that, it's hard to defend everybody deep like that. And for the first 8 games of the season, he only had about 12 or 13, and 5 of those were against Miami the first week.
A lot of his 36 passing touchdowns are pick your poison touchdowns.
Yes.
It's just like...
you got to stop the run, you got to stop the pass.
Yeah, and we'd rather stop the run.
And that's so what the other teams would do is like, okay, yeah, we'll give you the pass. We will let you do anything you want with your arm, because when you run, that's when you have the advantage, because they now have one more blocker than we have, than we normally have, and it's like, oh, but it's the risk that you take. The Titans were able to do that because they got up early and they ran the clock out when they'd have the ball, and then they would just depend on this will work if we do this. Whereas the Chargers, at least they were able to score some points, and then they had more patience, and it's like, we're going to let them throw, and then over a period of time.
Now, speaking of the Titans, Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill are up.
Yeah, and both of them are going to get money.
Pay either of them though. I mean, you have to, but
one game away from the Super Bowl.
And also
because of those two guys.
And Derrick Henry
is a running back. I don't want to pay any running back. So it's not Derrick Henry. Yes,
yeah,
he's one of the best out, but I don't want to pay any running back.
Yeah, but at the same time,
he's still young.
He has next to no tread on his wheels as a pro.
Yeah, because he only had 5. Because he only had 500-yard games before Tannehill.
I don't want to pay any running back. It's not Derrick Henry thing. Yes, he's one of the best. I don't want to pay $15 to $20 million to any running back. I don't want my roster to be handicapped from a $15 to $20 million position where we have all these teams. Look at San Francisco; they have 3 guys. They have all these different teams who have 2, 3 heads. I'm not paying $15, $20 million for it.
Who are the best running backs in the Super Bowl?
With the undrafted ex-Dolphins.
Well, no. Who are they?
Williams and Mostert.
And where were they before?
Miami.
Yeah, and I mean they were cut by previous teams.
Mostert was on 5 other teams before.
But the thing is with this, and I'll agree with Josh on this point about the not paying running backs. As long as you put that money into an offensive line, I mean the Texans and the Broncos. It's like, here, if our offensive line is a strong scheme. I mean, yes, Clinton Portis played there. Yes, Terrell Davis played there. But they also got 1,000-yard seasons from Alandis Gary.
Ruben Drones.
Noshawn Marino, who was a horrible player.
For about 10 years, Denver was like, who the fuck is this guy? 1,000 yards.
Like 4 consecutive seasons, they had different 1,000-yard rushers.
Gary Kubiak in his zone blocking scheme.
And then Alex Gibbs, who was an offensive line coach. He was with Atlanta when they went with Jamal Anderson, and then he went to the Texans, and then they had the zone blocking, and Steve Slayton rushed for 1,000 yards his rookie year. Anybody remember him? No.
Yeah. West Virginia.
West Virginia.
I remember him.
And Pat White.
I
He's
drafted
fast as shit.
I drafted him in a fantasy league, and people were laughing. And it's like, no, he ran zone blocking in West Virginia. This is what they run in Houston. He's going to get the 1,000 yards, and he did. And it's like, whoa. And so I mean, even when they've rotated through their running backs currently, none of them have been breakouts because of their injuries, but they've all been successful.
Even who's the guy they got now? That's pretty good. Philip Lindsay.
That's what Denver.
Yes, I mean.
Yeah. So I mean, if you put that money into an offensive line to where, then yes, I absolutely believe that, because I mean, if you can give $2 million extra, $3 million extra to 3 different offensive linemen to keep them and have them be your consistent starters over a 4 or 5 year period, that'll pay off more for you than $15 million on a running back.
So what all right.
I mean, so
you wouldn't pay Saquon Barkley when he's up.
You have to, but I wouldn't want to.
It's the Barry Sanders Emmitt Smith thing. If Barry Sanders was behind Emmitt Smith's offensive line, how many yards would he would have put up?
If you're on a bad team, it doesn't matter. So you and New York's different too, because you keep him for marketing, you keep him for other things.
Tickets. You gotta keep him for tickets.
That New York's a different market. But outside of that, no, I don't want to pay any running back 15, 20 million.
What about a guy like Christian McCaffrey, who is 3rd in the league in receptions and has 1,000 yards receiving?
Yes, you pay him.
Okay.
Yes.
Saquon catches the ball too.
I mean, I get.
McCaffrey's a hybrid as well. McCaffrey is getting how many receptions did he have last year? I mean,
He had 106 last year, 115, 111 this year.
But
yes, he's a running back, but he's a hybrid. I mean,
so is Saquon.
Yeah, Saquon.
Yeah, so I just said Saquon
Is
catches
the exact same player, except
bigger and better.
Arguably.
He was just hurt this year.
Yeah, I mean,
the Giants have been so bad the last couple of years.
all the issues I had with Christian McCaffrey going to the season, Saquon Barkley doesn't have.
Thanks for that qualifier.
I'm giving Saquon Barkley a contract without. No, hold on. No. I'm giving Saquon Barkley a big contract without seeing him play, just looking at his quads. You can run.
No. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and skip over to basketball. Trade deadline's coming up, and also the All-Star game's coming up.
We had a couple of moves already,
and so it's Miami is.
Well, we'll let you harp, because I actually want to talk about this as well, because I'm kind of pleased by this. You had commented in the thread that you like Minnesota's moves. What moves did they make that you liked?
Getting rid of. Yeah, they brought in Malik Beasley and Hernan Guzman from the Denver Nuggets.
Juan Hernan Gomez.
Yeah.
Which he's an active big, and he has a little bit of range.
And there are two guys who just didn't give it. I mean, you look at them, you'll say that there are two guys who just didn't have minutes for them. And
you originally posted, and this is why I think you came around to the Minnesota thing, that you liked it more, is like, why is Denver getting rid of these? Because they're really solid rotation players.
They're great. They're good players.
And
with the potential to be
better.
Yeah.
But
Malik Beasley especially.
But
nobody has the potential of Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, and that's what I said. It's like
exactly.
that the reason they got rid of him was for minutes and contract money in the future, was for Michael Porter Jr.
They're both expiring next year too.
Well,
so.
was that they've already signed Murray, right? That's their point guard.
He's got a 5-year deal.
I always
Jamal Murray.
Who's the one with the Spurs?
Will Barton.
No.
Oh.
DeJounte
Murray.
Those guys I get confused, and then also Russell and another one, because they all came at the same time, and they're all kind of the same player.
Yeah.
And one of them or two of them have. DeJounte was injured, and Russell switched teams so much I always forget which one's which. But they already paid him. Jokic, they've already signed, right? They've extended it, or if not, he's going to get ridiculous money. And so that already gives them 2 max deals. And so they're looking around, and then Paul Millsaps is coming off.
They're just going to let him come off the books.
Yeah, he's going to roll off. They'll offer him less if he wants to stay, and he may, because it's Denver, and he's an older player, and he may like it there. And
get as high as you want, man.
It's like, hey, this is a good place for you, and he may stay, because with his role may diminish, and he may have more success, and so there's no telling what that player will choose to do. But they're definitely doing that, preparing for a max deal with Michael Porter Jr. And then you have MPJ, you have Jokic, and then you have Murray, and it's like that's a team that players are going to want to play for.
And Will Barton too.
And Will Barton, who's already there, and a couple other guys. So I get why they did it, because they saw Porter Jr.'s playing, and he's been successful. He's been getting more consistent, and he's been getting more minutes. And they're like, okay, this is our a ridiculously athletic 7-foot wing that nobody's going to defend when we already have a center who can play anywhere on the floor to where they don't occupy the same space. And that's a hard thing for people to do when they did it. And if Bol comes back in any sort of ability to play, that's a team that you can't match up with.
It's going to be very hard. Very tall.
You'll have all these perimeter guys at 7 feet
Well,
tall.
the thing is that, well, also not that, but I mean, Bol can kind of do all the things that Jokic can't do. So, I mean, it'll work out for them pretty well. But Iggy going to the Heat.
Well, that's not done.
Well,
because
not done?
No, because they're not. Now they're trying to 3-team it, and they're working on Gallinari's extension right
I saw
which means the trade's in place. The contract just has to get done.
They want because they want to get him for an extension. Which this is
both of them 2 to 3 years.
This is the thing that was completely the opposite of everything that I was afraid what Pat Riley would do to ruin the Heat.
No, he's doubling down defense and shooting.
Well, the thing is, like before, it's like he would trade for a star that could mess up the chemistry and possibly trade one of his younger guys. One, he didn't trade for an outright superstar. Two, he didn't really trade for any of the core guys that are playing.
I like Gallinari.
And then Gallinari gives them some height and outside shooting, which the Heat have got. What did you say they were in 3-pointers?
Second,
38% and
in the league
percentage.
Yeah, percentage, which is the most important thing.
And now you're adding like another guy. And then you're adding Iguodala, whose ability at the end of games for defense and just positioning and playing and as a leadership and his example role. He commented on that one video about Jimmy Butler. It's like he's looking at that. It's like, I know the people that are going to get along with Jimmy Butler, the people that don't work hard. I'm not going to have a problem with Jimmy Butler.
Nope.
And so he found a veteran wing and a younger shooter with some height. They're like the two best pieces that you could add to that team.
So Winslow's going to be going to Memphis in this deal. I just wonder who you're going to have to lose for Gallinari. You got it? Right. I'm wondering who we're going to lose for Gallinari. It's probably going to have to be like Duncan Robinson or somebody.
I don't think that he's. What you
like
talking
him,
about
though.
playing time or actually being off the team?
Just getting shipped out.
I think Dragic, because I mean, if teams are, especially if it's Oklahoma City,
Dragic is good though.
He is,
but Gallinari's younger.
But it's an expiring contract.
And Gallinari's younger. Yeah.
And Dragic, and Dragic very well may come back in the offseason too. Mm-hmm. So it's like, hey, look, just you want to come back, we got a place for you. And because I was watching some of the game again as the Clippers win at the end of the game because nobody can match up with their closing lineup.
It's Shamet went off.
Shamet is the guy.
Because Miami runs that zone more than anybody.
Well, the thing is like I saw him in his first game with Philadelphia last year, and he came from Wichita State, and you don't play for Greg Marshall if you can't play defense.
Yeah.
That's how Van Fleet first got on the floor with Toronto, and then he continued to add his offensive game. Is that no, this guy's going to be pretty good, and then his shooting got better. But he was part of the trade to. No, he was part of the Tobias Harris trade, which is unfortunate that he went there. Because Covington and Nurkic were Saric.
Who's in Phoenix now?
Yes. Yeah. Went to Minnesota for Butler, which ended up not working out for the Sixers because he left. But yeah, for anybody. And but the Shamet for Tobias Harris says I got it and I understand, but it's like Shamet was a rookie deal. He'd be there for 4 years and he would come close to that player and be a guy who doesn't need the ball and still fill a lot of those things. And him going to the Clippers, that's a 5th, 6th option that you're never going to defend, who you're going to have to. And if he gets open shots, he had, 6 threes at the end? Or
something like that.
He was on fire.
I'm pulling it up now.
He was on fire at the end of that game.
He hit the 2 dagger threes, they'll seal it.
And he even had a drive, from one side to the other. And he moves. And it's like it's easier for a young guy.
6 of 13 for 3. That's fucking flame throwing. Jesus.
And he was and again, he's always going to be open. Yeah. He's always going to be open.
Shoot 40 if you shoot 45%.
And now whenever they have their different combinations, it's like okay, George and
Kawhi had a terrible game.
He had a bad game.
He doesn't play well against Miami.
No. It's because of the nature of the way that
I don't think
play.
he likes the zone.
No. No.
He's not because he's not.
He's not a great passer.
No, he had 9 assists, which is a lot for him. But I mean, I feel like it's just forcing him out of his game.
Well, the thing that he does best is kind of that 45-degree back end turnaround jumper or going to the free throw line.
It's not there,
and the zone collapses on him, and it's just harder to do that.
Paul George had 10 assists.
Paul George had a great game.
Yeah, he had 5 of 7 from 3. That zone stuff.
But the thing is, like when you have that starting lineup, and then there's Beverly and Leonard and George, and it's like, okay, what am I going to do?
At the end of 3 quarters, they had taken 43 threes.
Yeah, and then they come off, and then you have Lou Williams, and you have
they took 54.
And you have my guy.
They
coming out
made
the front.
24. God damn it.
But then you add Shamitz being able to hit open shots, and he's always going to be open on any rotation.
You see, Derek Jones had a monster game.
He played really well.
Can fly.
He exploded in the fourth quarter when they made
5
that
from
run
3.
to get close.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of dunks that were just ridiculous.
Oh, the one Bam hit him with in transition, that lefty dunk.
Yes.
Bam is the most interesting center in the game. He averages 5 assists a game.
You know what he is? He's an athletic Draymond Green.
I'll take him. I'll take him over Draymond Green.
Because he's the athletic one.
He doesn't shoot it like him, though.
Well, not yet.
No.
No. Actually, I think he shoots it exactly like Draymond.
Yeah. Well, no. Hey, I'll take 0 for 0 over 0 for 5. I'll take 0 for 0 over 0 for 5. But he's, 9 and 15 from the field. You take that every day. But, Bam gets it in transition, and he's pushing it like a guard. Also, he catches it and faces up and drives like a guard. 5 assists for a game and for a center, for anyone not named Jokic, is massive. He's the second best passing center besides Jokic, or at least best facilitating.
Well, it all depends on what you say with Sabonis and how you classify him and what he plays.
They got Turner. He's a 4.
Yeah, because I would take anybody related to Arvydas Sabonis is in the conversation.
Sight unseen. Yeah.
is already in the top conversation.
Sabonis had my favorite passes over the head. Boom. He just dumped it back over his head.
Oh, speaking of passes, this is the one time we'll talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's not
the
related to
5-hole?
Seti Osman.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. In the breakaway, Kevin Love, of course, immediately in transition, finds the guy up ahead. Seti Osman is facing the baseline that Love is passing for, grabs the ball, turns, and immediately throws this wicked bounce pass, which even if there was no defender there, the fact that he caught it, didn't look, and just passed it right to the guy would have been impressive. But it ended up bouncing right through the 5-hole of the defender.
If you get 5-holed from 15 feet out, it's embarrassing as fuck.
Well, the thing is, it's like when he passed it, there was no 5-hole. The guy was in mid-transition, and as the ball was coming toward him is when the 5-hole opened up.
He hit a window like a quarterback.
It was ridiculous.
It was like Drew Brees.
It was like whenever the Cavs would ever trade Seti Osman, if ever is the discussion of that, you just send that clip to the other team. It's like, oh, okay.
Don't worry, John. We'll start talking about numbers again soon.
Okay.
Oh, no. I was just looking at the tornado warning that's currently going on. It was actually a tornado on the ground in Huntersville.
Yeah.
They said there was one near the airport that the wind was crazy.
I saw
ridiculous.
Belmont too.
Yeah.
The other part, because the Minnesota trade was also part of the Atlanta with the Clint Capella one. Was that all part of that 4-team trade?
Yeah, well, Clint Capella went to Atlanta, and also Nene did, and they just waived Nene. So.
Well, yeah, he was up because he was a non-guaranteed contract.
Yeah, and then
and also they didn't get rid of players, so they had to find roster spots anyway.
And Dwayne Dedmon went back to Atlanta, signing a deal with Sacramento this past offseason.
Well, I think that Atlanta, because I had commented that Atlanta is trying to go for something, because with Dedmon and Capella and Collins, that's your front court, that's your power forward center positions that can do, each of them between the three of them, they can do different things. They're all pretty good rebounders. Dedmon's a much better 3-point shooter. Capella's very active on pick and rolls. Trae
Young's gonna like him.
He and Trae Young should get to know each other really, really well, and that allows Collins to just kind of figure out what he is, to fill in with Dedmon to be on the block, and with Capella to see whatever else he can do.
He should end up being the best offensive player out of 3.
He should. He should easily be that. Because with Dedmon, he can play on the block, and then when Capella's there, he can play outside, and he can figure out and get better at those things without having to just be stuck in one of those two positions. And on occasion, they could put all 3 out there, because with Dedmon's shooting ability, he could play a large 3. And then all of a sudden, it's like they should be
Collins can guard a more athletic guy.
Yeah, and they on any switches or anything, they should be one.
He's also going to enjoy being guarded by smaller guys.
Yes, one of the better rebounding teams in the East, just because of the height in certain situations. And they have Hunter, right? Hunter's there.
Yeah, they
can put out a ridiculously outside the point guard, a ridiculously tall defensive team lineups in certain situations.
Speaking of defense, man, I'm going to find a way to tune into this Rockets Lakers game tonight.
It's going to be really interesting.
Super small ball versus super large ball.
Because
Robert Covington's the tallest starter. PJ Tucker
playing as the power forward. So I mean,
and how old is PJ Tucker? 35?
I don't know, but he's 6'5".
Yeah, but he's what, 35?
I don't know. He's one of those guys that's like Lou Williams. How old's Lou Williams? Like 23. He's 37, or whatever age he is. He was a rookie with Allen Iverson. He was in the last high school class to go
34.
directly to the pros.
Yeah, Lou Williams are.
But that's the thing, is like Covington, even though he's playing the power forward as the tallest guy, he's playing wherever Anthony Davis is, because he has to, and then that puts PJ Tucker as the center.
See, not all 30s are created equal.
This is the thing: is Dwight Howard, who starts for the Lakers? Howard, JaVale and Howard neither have the skill to just post up a person, even though he's 6'5".
But pick and roll.
Yes, but I mean, even without that, pick and roll. I bet you PJ Tucker can out-hip McGee, just get him out of the way enough to where the pass isn't easy. But I mean, when you see a 6'5" center and you have 7-foot guys, your first 8 possessions should just be clear out, throw it into him, turn around and lay it up.
It should. But at the same time, it's not just the bigs. Who is stopping LeBron from getting to the rim?
Because
nobody.
Well, this is the thing: is who's Harden defending? Well, nobody. But I mean, who's he going to be? It's got to be Danny because he's the only one who doesn't kind of drive. And then who else is?
I don't back cut Danny
So
Green.
what? Bledsoe? Is it Gordon? I forget my Erics. Gordon is going to be defending LeBron.
Isn't he the 6 man?
I think he is.
Who's
Who's the starters for that? I mean, Westbrook, Harden. Who's the 3 on that team?
Let's look at the last game.
I mean, it's a ridiculously short team against a ridiculously tall team.
God, this for the sake of basketball, this experiment needs to fail.
I kind of hope it works.
Well, this is
you hate tall people.
Well, no. This is a continuation of the
Tall
Golden
people
State
play
thing.
basketball. It's the rule. It's as old as time.
Well, this is the funny thing is like a couple of years ago.
Lower the rim to 8 feet.
A couple of years ago
God,
for
Zion's
both the
game.
football and the basketball side.
House Junior.
Yeah, and he's not tall. Is that how do you defeat this type of thing? Like how do you beat Golden State? Well, so you have to be bigger and have to out rebound them. You have to you have to go after their weakness, and so that's what the Lakers effectively did. They built a team to do that.
Oh, well, Eric Gordon started last game because they didn't have Covington and they already dealt Capella.
Yes, yeah.
So Eric Gordon
that's
started.
right. Yeah,
so
yeah.
they ran the small ball lineup and they beat New Orleans.
Yeah, no, they went ahead and ran that. They that last game they played, they ran super small.
House Junior had 12 boards.
They went super small last game. Yeah, I remember seeing that.
I watched the last Pelicans game because Zion is compelling.
Favors only played 24 minutes and had 11 rebounds. That's why they because the Pelicans felt the need to match up. PJ Tucker didn't hit a shot. Why are you matching up?
You don't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's
you make them match up to you.
In certain situations, you might want to do that, but the thing is, it's like you always want to take the matchup advantage that you have. When you go smaller, they have the advantage because they're more skilled.
Well, see, the Pelicans thing is the Pelicans even when they don't have a lot of shooting from their guards.
They don't.
So it's tough. So they have to go small.
Well, and the worst thing, and this is what I was talking about, is Lonzo started off pretty hot, hitting the open catch and shoot threes, but he's still not taking advantage of his height and driving to the hoop.
And Drew Holiday isn't a catch and shoot guy.
No, he's not. He's
at
a
all.
drive and distribute guy. And so it's like they have 2 point guards, of which neither one of them is a true shooting guard, or can shoot enough to be a shooting guard. But if Lonzo would just drive, it would open up more opportunities for his catch and shoot threes because they wouldn't either. I mean, one, they're just leaving him wide open for the rest of the year because they want to see how this works out. But two, if he does drive, then they won't close down on him as hard, giving him the opportunity to actually get that shot off. He's 6'8" and he's athletic. Go to the hoop.
The entire team's athletic. It's ridiculous. Him, Hayes, Zion, and Ingram. I mean, that team's going to take time to grow. And
I am surprised that. I'm not really surprised. I'm happy for you that Zion's ability on the floor, even though they don't find a way to get him the ball for ridiculously long stretches, which is just stupid, is that it really hasn't affected Ingram's style of play in any way.
no, it's actually kind of working.
Well, but the weird thing is they're effectively the same person. Get them the ball on the perimeter. They'll figure it out because of their athletic ability to get to the hoop. The way they do it is entirely different.
You know,
Ingram's a better shooter.
Brandon's
Ingram's
long, and he kind of weaves in there and uses his length. Zion just goes through you.
That's
goes
why-
through him,
that's why I
and
always
then
said-
immediately rebounds the ball if he misses.
That's
it.
why I always said Ingram was.
He's got the best second jump in the league.
That's why I always said Ingram's kind of like a Durant 2.0. He's not as tall as Durant, but he's lanky and he's got a beautiful shot.
The reach is just so
So
because it's like it is. It's like he starts for that layup on the one side of the block. So he's not going to make
You go
it.
to block it, but it's over here.
Yeah,
and he glides on the court.
as he reaches a foot away.
Watching
from him.
Ingram play, watching him play at Duke, you just knew he was going to be good as a pro. It's just a matter of where he went and the opportunity he was going to get.
The weird thing is like I still don't think he's not as physically. Was he 22 now?
He's
21. 21 is that he still hasn't really filled out in the chest. He's still more
don't think he
shoulders.
will.
He may not.
No, he might fill in the way Durant kind of filled in. Because remember, look at Durant when he went
didn't
to.
fill in.
Well, no. look at pictures of Durant from when he went to the league and look at him now. He did gain about 10, 15 pounds.
No, but I mean, he could.
That's just enough
Look
weight.
at Ingram, though. He could easily put in about 20.
Ingram's 22. He's still called the Slim Reaper.
Yeah. Which, again, one of the greatest nicknames. That's fantastic.
All right, guys. Well, I want to go and cut this short, actually. We'll talk about the All-Star weekend next week, the dunk contest and three-point contest in particular, and hopefully Zach LaVine does actually decide to join the dunk contest.
That's Carter.
It would be great. Like all the former winners that are still in the league, all have them come back. For Kobe.
I don't...
I mean, that's the only reason some of these people are coming back.
Well, Dwight's back because he has managed
to rehabilitate his career, and also
Dwight better not be allowed to do a Kobe dunk.
He's
LeBron set him in his
he's
place.
an entertainer. It's like he wants to do that.
He realized that Dwight realized that hey, look, I'm not the top banana, not on this team.
Well, I mean, when you're a year away from basketball, whenever you know the only thing you ever know is basketball, that will change your perspective.
Kinda, yeah.
And I'm sure there was the discussion before he signed with the Lakers. It's like, how's this going to work? What are we going to do? And this is what you're going to be expected. And it's the perfect teammate because Dwight has never, again, as I was talking about earlier, he's never worked on any sort of game, back to the basket game, or working anything to block. He has a weird looking jump hook, but his game is going to the basket and dunking and getting rebounds. And they just set him up for that. They pick and roll, or they crash the basket and he just steps toward it and they give him the ball or he gets the rebound. And he's like, oh, I have no mental responsibilities on offense except to get the rebound. I can do that. I am great at that.
The Lakers still have time to make a move too. The trade deadline's at 3.
They have time, but the only the only
Kuzma.
thing that they can Kuzma is the thing, but the thing is what you're exchanging him for either a point guard or the what he does, just maybe an older version of it. But they have no other assets. They can't trade first round picks because Oklahoma City's got all of them. No, not to Oklahoma City. New Orleans has all of them. Oklahoma City has all of the Clippers first round picks. And so the only thing else that they're explaining is veterans on expiring contracts, and most of the teams that have somebody to get rid of, except for Washington, don't need the cap relief because they don't have anybody on their team that they're paying.
Well, I mean, they were actually actively shopping for Dennis Schroeder, so
Sure, but I mean if you're Oklahoma City, that's he and Julius Alexander are the only things you're not trading.
yeah, at this point, which is crazy considering how many times Schroeder has been traded. It seems like.
Well, but it's because it's like he's not a starting point guard. He has starting point guard skills, but the thing is, when he comes off the second team, he's just a monster. Because he's so much better than almost any second team defense trying to defend him.
All right, guys, we're gonna go and cut this one short. Anything you want to say?
I know you wanted to talk about the Heat and their.
Oh yeah, well that's the whole thing I want to talk about. The Heat they already have Justice Winslow for Iguodala done, which. Winslow's a better young piece, but he's always hurt. So if you do want to win now, it makes sense. But now they're trying to make it a 3-team deal to bring Gallinari in, which I wonder who they're going to have to lose to do that. Which you said will probably be Goran Dragic.
I think just for salary matches.
Which it does, and it makes sense. Goran's older. As much as I like Goran, Gallinari's the younger piece
and taller.
Yeah, and he fucking lights. He's a better shooter, so I'll take him, especially when we're already second in the league in 3-point percentage. And if Pat Riley, I trust. He's yet to let me down yet.
Well, and the thing that I really like about this, and because I mentioned it last night when it came across in our group chat, is that signing the 2-year extension with Iguodala and possibly signing 2 or 3 years with Gallinari is that one, you lock them down for that window and you have this team for 3 years. The other thing is that's the timeline that those contracts both roll off when they have to pay Kendrick Nunn, they have to pay Tyler Herro, they have to pay Duncan Robinson.
Bam.
And Bam. Bam will be first and the easiest because he's on the team, and he'll be the 4 years, so he's only at the 1 level. But that keeps them within a salary structure, which is unusual for him because he gave Alonzo the ridiculous. Alonzo's contract was okay. He gave Juwan Howard the ridiculous contract, and he normally had put himself in bad contract situations. Whiteside, but he got lucky and was able to trade out of that. And so I'm terrifically it's.
They're looking like they're going to contend and then keep contending after they roll off.
Yes, and often I've said on here is that Pat Riley has gotten too much credit for things that he already had. And the one thing that he did do, building that first title team with the Heat, he blew up a team that could have contended for 10 years with all the young shooters for a team that was all veterans that only had the 1 year. Again, he won the title, so it's worth it.
Worth it.
And he got another ring for himself when he was still trying to compete with Phil Jackson. And so I understand it, but then it was a selfish move rather than a team move. It was a great move for him, not necessarily a great move for the Heat. But this looks all great moves for the Heat. So it's like he's going against his normal tendencies for the long term, which is fantastic. And they are known throughout the league for getting players in shape and in their healthiest. Even Deion Waiters, who willfully doesn't want to be either one of those things. He could be one of the guys being traded
for money.
And again, him going back to Oklahoma City, because one of the many stops he's had. So I mean, it's that might be what the deal is, that they're trying to negotiate which of the expiring contracts. And I would imagine they'd want to keep Dragic more so, but it just depends on how much Gallinari is making and what they do have to match. Yeah. But again, if you're only losing Waiters,
Gallinari makes 22.
Okay, so it has to be Dragic, and
Dragic only makes 19.
Well, that's close enough. You have to be with like 10-15%. If you're under the cap, you can do whatever you want.
You just throw a bum in there.
Well, no,
you
that's
get
close enough.
Deion Waiters and Miles Leonard.
It's a 20%
and
thing.
keep Dragic. It kind of works though.
Yeah, if you do that, because Leonard has been one of the guys that's been on that, and that was just the only reason they traded for Leonard was to get rid of Whiteside.
And you don't need him if you have Olynyk.
No, and
so I'm just saying,
and Gallinari again just for height.
Miles Leonard's expendable to them, so I'm just saying, don't.
Gallinari is a nasty stretch for.
I wouldn't expect
if you can keep Dragic and you lose the
you're
others.
You're keeping Dragic, I think.
If you keep Dragic and you get those two guys, you have a chance.
You're not getting rid of Dragic.
You definitely become terrifically competitive against the Celtics and the Sixers because you have more depth than the Sixers, and then you can defend the wings and possibly outshoot the Celtics.
Also, you can get rid of James Johnson,
and then you get Iggy and Jimmy Butler to try and harass Giannis as much as they can. You think Jimmy Butler can do a decent Kawhi impersonation in the playoffs? So at least try and punk him.
Well, and the thing is, this is what I mean, because again, if you get into the finals, that's the puncher's chance. That's all you're looking for.
That's all I want. Yeah.
And both of those teams are terrifically shooting from outside, so it's just a matter of who's hot and when they're hot in that situation. And then that's why the Iguodala trade becomes worth it, because he's the one that can kind of manage the emotions of the young guys who would be all brand new to.
Him and Jimmy will lead that team just fine.
I think no. I mean, the Iguodala trade is fantastic. One, because he doesn't end up in Los Angeles for either one of those teams. Because I want to see both of those teams as is go through, because the Lakers is like, we're going to beat you because we're going to bigger, and then the Clippers are going to beat you because we're versatile, and it's like don't mess with those two things. It's like I want to see that matchup, and then I like that he didn't end up with Milwaukee or any of the other teams, or just be a weird thing. The Heat's a good place for him. I think it's a terrific place for him. I'm kind of excited. I'm a notorious Heat disliker of all things and anything related. This is a terrifically likable team.
Now I can't. Now I really can't wait to see a Clippers Rockets matchup.
Oh,
because let's just run the small ball out the whole game.
Oh, go do it.
Because you're still fine. You're fine.
Do whatever you want. It's like
6'10" Paul George, 6'10" Harrell.
Harrell and Lou Williams. How excited are they going to be? It's like, oh, now you want to do this. Now you want it. Now you want to do this. Now you want to do this. We were here, and now you want to do this. Yeah. What was it? 31 points in the bench in the fourth quarter in the Heat Clippers game last night. 62, 63 in the game. And those are two of the best bench scoring teams in the
at the half. They were about even.
Yeah, which is if you're within 10 points of the Clippers bench,
within one.
You should win. And you're at the half. If you're within 10 points in the game, you're playing really, really well.
So with this trade, let's say I just did a trade machine trade. It was Danilo Gallinari and Andre Iguodala to the Heat. Memphis Grizzlies get Justice Winslow, and say Oklahoma City gets James Johnson and Miles Leonard. It works. So it didn't work if I tried to get rid of Deion Waiters instead of Johnson.
Trust me, if the Heat could get rid of Waiters, they'd have done it.
The thing
Waiters isn't going back to the Thunder though.
No, well they're going to be the Heat will just be fine letting that contract roll.
He might be the most undesired player in the league.
But I mean, they got him in so much good shape. He became like a borderline all-star, and he signed that deal, and he bloated up bigger than us.
Very true.
And then how much? I mean, he's played 25% of the games over this 3 years of the contract.
That's bad.
And then that's not counting the number of suspensions. I mean, even when he's
2 this year,
not three this year.
They're fairly idiotic suspensions. All right. So with that said, do anyone else expect the Lakers to get rid of Kuzma and make a deal?
I don't.
Or Clippers. You think the Clippers stay?
I don't think the Clippers are, but I mean, I don't know what they could really.
76ers have already made some moves, but they got to make a couple more moves to actually make this move work.
Harkless, where's Harkless? Is he with the Clippers? Is that the one with the Clippers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's the chip that they would trade. But I don't know that anybody wants to.
Well,
Covington's already been moved. Iguodala's been moved.
like I said, we're
What
going to find out in about 3 hours what else is going to happen.
Now you had said that you had postulated that the Hawks were making these deals to possibly make another deal, like adding assets to make a deal. If you're the Celtics, would you trade for Capella and Dedmon for Jaylen Brown and somebody?
They're not going to get rid of Jaylen Brown.
Well, I mean, he's the only one that would match with contracts. That's
This
the
is
only
true,
thing.
but I think
everybody's obviously going to ask for Tatum, but Tatum's deal is still the rookie deal. So
Capella to the Celtics would.
Well, Capella and Dedmon, that solves
That solves
their
all their
problem.
issues, but they're not going to get rid of Jaylen Brown for that.
I'm just asking.
Now, would you get rid of Gordon Hayward?
Well, I think that yes, you would.
You
except,
do.
Except that's his college coach, and that's the reason he went there.
Well, I'm just saying.
And
But
but again, there's
if we're talking about
What if you got
how hard is it for Boston to sign free agents just as a baseline?
True.
And now you have the organization's coach, who's the college guy, that ship him out on a deal. That's just not going to sit well with people. That guy can't stay there and depend that he's going to play on this contract.
Yeah, but given what's happening,
Who are you trading for?
I'll say Clint Capella and
Kevin
Dwayne
Love?
Well, no, it was the Capella.
and Dwayne Dedmon.
He was postulating with all the moves that Atlanta made. Maybe they were looking to like double down and trade what they got for something else. Now, if you have Collins and you have a Jaylen Brown and Tatum, you got your wing, you got your guard, you got your big man. And then that's the thing that the Celtics think that they need.
Yeah, but the Celtics are no way in hell getting rid of Jaylen, or I think Hayward's expendable. So
he's the most likely, but they're not getting rid of him.
Yeah, he's the oldest, and the other two are better defenders.
This is the third year of his 4-year deal for Hayward. So I mean,
Hayward only has one more year. So I mean,
yeah, but I mean, you get wherever he goes, you get him for a year and a half, which is the interesting thing.
Well, let's go ahead and just take a look at the. Well, no, they probably can't even do it right now. All right. Anyway, so we're just going to end this podcast
We're
right
just
now.
being impatient. The deadline's in 3 hours.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, we'll know in 3 hours. So, anyways, guys, thank you for listening to Simon Says Sports. Give us a like, follow, share, whatever. Follow us on Instagram on Simon Says Podcast, and it'll be exciting to talk next week after all these trades are made. And
Let's go Heat.
yeah, well, let's go Pelicans.